It's the Chris Massey College Football Show. Starring your host, Chris Massey.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Massey and welcome to the Chris Massey College Football Show. This is episode number 2. We're coming to you live tonight from our Chisel Multimedia Studios here in downtown Atlanta. Matt, how we doing over there tonight?
All good.
You have a good weekend?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It has been an exciting first month of college football. There have been some awesome games. We had Georgia, Clemson, Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, Florida, Penn State and Auburn, Texas A&M and Arkansas. I mean, these were all great games, and there were many others too, that we don't have time to mention them all. Now, we know a lot more today than we did a month ago when we were talking about college football before the season had ever started. Some definite questions have been answered. There's been some unexpected things that we really weren't, nobody was really looking for, to be honest with you. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Heisman race. There's some guys that are out of it and some new guys that are in it. One of the coaches, we said it was on the hot seat, already gone. After 2 games, they let him go. We're going to be talking about the NIL tonight also. Names, images, and likeness that college football players are now allowed to make money off of. How is this going to affect the game, and more important than that, how's it going to affect recruiting? How is it going to affect recruiting? We're going to talk about all that tonight. So anyway, we got a great show, a lot of stuff to cover, and we're going to get to it when we come back.
From the pocket. Intercepted. Jumping the route is Christopher Smith. A foot race. Can the quarterback catch him? He cannot. Pick 6, Georgia.
Sitting right here, and I almost feel with all these short throws, I feel that Smith almost baited him. Does a good job of getting his eyes up, anticipating that throw on 3rd down. He's right where the first down marker is, and then he's got the speed to get away from DJ and into the end zone.
All right, you were just watching a clip from the Georgia-Clemson game, the first week of the season. That was the only touchdown scored in that game, and Georgia was able to pull out a 10-3 victory. Can't remember the last time I saw a college football game where there was not an offensive touchdown scored. Georgia's defensive line really got after Clemson that night. 7 sacks. It was an old-fashioned defensive battle, and the Bulldogs were able to come out on top. All right. This month, the Big 12 announced that they are going to be adding 4 teams after Oklahoma and Texas bolt for the SEC. Cincinnati, Central Florida, BYU, and Houston are all going to join the Big 12, which is going to give the conference 12 teams. And they have not had 12 teams since Colorado bolted for the Pac-12. And, of course, Nebraska joined the Big 10. Is this going to make their conference better? No, it's not. It's not. None of these teams right now are a formidable powerhouse and college playoff contender. But you could have somebody, Cincinnati perhaps, or Central Florida, be able to go undefeated in this conference. I tell you what it's really going to do, though, is it's going to make recruiting in the state of Florida now more difficult for Florida State, and Miami. When Central Florida joins the Big 12, Florida will join Texas, and California has the only states that have 4 Power 5 Division I teams in their state. Now, what's happened over the years is a kid he's considering Florida, and he's considering Central Florida. The Gators are able to go in there and say, look, why do you want to go here? They're in the group of 5. We play big boy football in our conference. They're not going to be able to say that anymore. Central Florida is going to be in the Big 12, and it's going to make recruiting tougher, in that state. So we'll see how that turns out. But I think that Central Florida has an opportunity to get in that Big 12 and really let things roll. And if they become one of the top teams in the Big 12, it's even going to make it harder for Florida State, Miami, and the Gators to keep those Florida kids at home. And, of course, right now Florida State and Miami are struggling big time. In fact, I don't think either one of those teams could beat Central Florida. Now, on the last show, we were talking about some of the coaches that were on the hot seat, and one of the ones we were talking about was Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Well, Mr. Harbaugh has got the Wolverines to 4-0, and Ohio State has already dropped a game. Is this the year that Jim Harbaugh can get over the hump and get to the Big Ten championship game? We'll have to see. We'll have to see, but he is on the right track so far. Who was not on the right track was Clay Helton out at the University of Southern California. He was fired after 2 games. Now, look, I'm going to tell you something. If your coach is 2 losses away from getting fired, you should have fired him before the season started. You have hung these kids out to dry out there in Southern Cal and basically told them that the season is over. I mean, it's a disgrace the way the athletic department at Southern California handled this situation. I wouldn't blame the USC players if every one of them entered the transfer portal. I mean, really, you're going to have to go out and get a new coach. We'll be sure to tell him that he's not going to have a team when he gets here. If I was at USC, I would certainly be thinking about that. But you are in California. You may have a hot girlfriend, and that might be what keeps you there on campus. I don't know. All right, so let's take a look at the top 15. All right. Okay, we got Texas A&M coming in at number 15. Michigan, undefeated Michigan at 14. BYU at 13. The Ole Miss Rebels coming in at 12. Ohio State fell out of the top 10, and they are now 11. Florida is number 10. Notre Dame number 9. Arkansas number 8. Cincinnati moved to number 7. Oklahoma fell back to number 6. Number 5 is Iowa. 4 is Penn State. 3 is Oregon. 2 is Georgia. And 1 is Alabama. So we've had only 5 teams from the top 10 that started the season are still in there. You got Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and Cincinnati. Those are the 5. So we got 5 new teams in there. Clemson, Iowa State, and North Carolina are completely out of the top 10 and really out of the top 25. They've got Clemson at number 25, but I got to tell you, I think that's based on what they've done in the past. Certainly not what they have done this year. Now, speaking of Clemson, this is an unbelievable drop-off for this team. They've made the college football playoff every year. They're the only school that can say that. So what is going on at Clemson? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think the problem is, and it's one word, and it's recruiting. Recruiting. Dabo and Clemson have never been a consistent top 5 recruiter. But what Dabo has done very well is he's been able to hire great assistants, and he's been able to get them to stay. Brad Venable running the defense, Tony Elliott running the offense, and that's huge. That's huge. You come in as you're a freshman, you learn a system, and that system is still intact when you're a senior, and the coaches are still there. And that is certainly a formula for success. Also, Clemson hit the jackpot on 2 quarterback recruits, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Both of these guys are starting NFL quarterbacks. They've also had some NFL running backs and wide receivers. And, these guys were able to cover up some of the holes they had that they did not have a lot of 5-star players for. Well, now here's what's happened now. You missed on DJU. He's not a great quarterback. Right now, he's not even a good quarterback. You had one of your running backs enter the transfer portal. The other guy you got in there, his name escapes me. He's doing a pretty good job, but now he's hurt. You really don't have any dominant wide receivers, and that offensive line is a mess. It's a mess. Today, Clemson is last in the ACC in total yards per game. Last. You are last offensively in arguably the worst Power 5 conference. it's unbelievable how far they've dropped down. So what's going to happen? I mean, if I had to predict, I'm going to say Clemson's probably going to lose 2 more games. 2 more games this year. I mean, they may run the table and go 10-2, but right now I don't see it. I just don't see it. You know, Boston College is coming into Death Valley this Saturday, and in years past, you know, Boston College would be coming in thinking, maybe we can hang with them. That's not the case this year. Granted, they hadn't played anybody, but Boston College is 4-0, and they're going to show up Saturday thinking they can win, and they should. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with Clemson in the ACC. Another school in the ACC that I don't understand is the Florida State Seminoles. They say they're rebuilding, but I believe Jimbo Fisher's been gone now for 4 years. And granted, Jimbo did not leave much in the cupboard when he left, but they seem this year to be going backwards. And this is the second coach that they've had since Jimbo Fisher has left. They're 0-4. The first week of the season, they played Notre Dame really tough, only lost the game by a field goal, but the following week they got beat by Jacksonville State. Then I believe they were beaten by Wake Forest. They lost this past Saturday. The college football rankings come out every week, and they rank all the teams from 1 to 130. And in the last power rankings, Florida State was ranked number 103 in the country. I mean, that's just hard to believe. 103. There are 70 Power 5 teams counting the 4 independents. So that would mean that there are 32 Group of 5 teams that are better than Florida State. These are teams from the MAC, the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, Conference USA, AAC, better than Florida State. Who would have ever thought that FSU and Clemson would be at the bottom of the ACC? What can I say? Speaking of the ACC, though, I do want to send kudos out to Coach Collins, head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They were able to win their first game over a ranked team since Collins has been there, and it was not a cheap one. They dominated the game and put a whooping on number 21 North Carolina at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. And, they played Clemson tough, had an opportunity to win, and then they backed that up with this game. And right now, in his 3rd year, it looks like Coach Collins has got the Yellow Jackets on the right track. So congratulations to Georgia Tech on their big win. So let's look at some of the big games that we've got coming up here in October. There's several this Saturday. We got Cincinnati is going to be at Notre Dame. This is a big game. One of these teams is going to fall out of the top 10. Cincinnati did beat Indiana, but Indiana, that's a mediocre Big Ten team. They did have the week off before going into this game. So we'll see. They certainly have a chance to win. And for all you Cincinnati fans, on the last show I was talking about they didn't deserve to be in the top 10. I never said Cincinnati was not a good football team. Cincinnati has a crummy schedule, okay? They could very well go in there and beat Notre Dame. But what have they got after that? Nothing but a bunch of Group of 5 teams. And the schedule is what I think should keep them out of the top 10. So that will be a big game this week. In the SEC, Alabama is taking on Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss has got a great quarterback by the name of Matt Collar. And this kid is unbelievable. He is really going to have a chance to show his stuff this Saturday on national TV. And I don't know if Ole Miss is going to win this game, but I'll tell you this, everybody in the country is going to know who Matt Corral is when this game is over. Georgia has Arkansas this Saturday, a top 10 matchup in Athens. Game day is going to be there. It's a 12 o'clock start. Why it's a 12 o'clock start, I don't know. I mean, you got Auburn and LSU playing at night, and then you got Georgia and Arkansas at the 12 o'clock game. I think the Razorbacks and the Dogs should have had that night spot. Now, Arkansas likes to run the football. Sam Pittman being an offensive line coach, he likes to move those big uglies around and get those running backs picking up a lot of yardage. The thing about Georgia's defense is that it is very, very good against the run. In fact, it's the best in the country. 4 games into the season, and Georgia has given up 1 touchdown. Their defense has, and that came late with quite a few second-teamers on the field against South Carolina. Georgia has the ability in this game to make Arkansas one-dimensional. And if they're able to do that, Georgia is going to win this game and win it by a couple of touchdowns or more. Arkansas is going to need to run north of 200 yards in this game to have a chance. And 200 yards against that Dogs defense, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happen. I mean, you might have a guy break one for 60 or 70 yards, that would pad the stats a little bit. But overall, they're not going to be getting much out of the running game, and it's going to put more pressure on their quarterback. For the Dogs, Darnell Washington, tight end, will be back for this game. But how much of the field is he going to see? This freshman, Brock Bowers, man, you talk about a phenomenal player. This guy's just jumped in there. He's playing like a sophomore or a junior. It's hard to believe that this time last year the kid was playing high school ball. In the Big Ten, we've got Michigan and Michigan State coming up this month, and Penn State and Ohio State on October 30th. Now, the Big Ten right now has got 5 undefeated teams. Michigan is undefeated. Michigan State is undefeated. Maryland is undefeated. Penn State and Iowa. Now, all those teams except Iowa are in the same division. So they're going to be knocking each other off, So it's pretty safe to say that whoever wins that Eastern Division, they're probably going to have 1 loss. Iowa, on the other hand, they can pretty much take care of business in the division that they are in. Let's see. There are no big games in the ACC. I mean, there's just not. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? In the Big 12, you have got the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma and Texas. That will happen. This month, and also Kansas State and Oklahoma. These will be 2 games that Oklahoma could lose. Now, speaking of Oklahoma, they have not really lit up the scoreboard. Their defense has not played that great. Spencer Rattler, who was a #1 Heisman Trophy candidate, at the last game, the crowd was chanting for the second-string quarterback. I mean, that's how bad they have been. I don't see Oklahoma running the table. I don't. I mean, somebody along the line is going to beat these guys. So, you don't have an undefeated team coming out of the ACC. You're not going to have one coming out of the Big 12, in my opinion. It's going to be all scrambled up for the college football playoff. And it's a year if Notre Dame can take care of business, they'll certainly have a good shot to get in there. Now, last month we talked about the Heisman hopefuls. And Vegas at that time had Spencer Rattler as the #1 guy. #2, I believe, was DJU at Clemson. #3 was Sam Howell at North Carolina. JT Daniels was in there. And Bryce Young at Alabama. Okay, so here's what we know now. Sam Howell, you're not winning the Heisman Trophy. It's just not working out for you there. Spencer Rattler, you are not putting up Heisman Trophy numbers. You're not. JT Daniels is just beginning to get in the swing. We found out that he was hurt in that Clemson game. That's why they did not go downfield much. He didn't play the second week. Looked really good against South Carolina. And at the end of the first quarter against Vanderbilt last week, Georgia was winning 35-0, and he had gone 9 for 10 for 2 touchdowns, and Kirby put him on the bench, which in my opinion is the smart thing to do. There's bigger fish to fry than running the score up on Vanderbilt. But the guy that was not listed on this Heisman list, who in my opinion is not only the front runner, but he is the best quarterback right now in college football, and that is Matt Corral at Ole Miss. Okay, this kid is phenomenal. I mean, he's quick, he can run the ball, throw the deep ball, make all the throws. I mean, right now, you would have to say that he is the most exciting player in college football. And later in the show, we're going to be taking a look at a clip from him and just seeing how good this kid really is. Okay, we'll be right back.
Mechanics of officiating. Young back in the end zone again on 3rd and 5. That question might have to wait because there goes Jamison Williams to the house. Touchdown, Alabama. Diaz screaming at the referee, Ron Snodgrass, but the replays seem to confirm that the officials got the play right on the previous play before this touchdown.
Well, just great separation on DJ Ivy.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 12, the blow to the head. A 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
You see the speed and the acceleration of Jamison Williams.
All right, we're back. You just watched Bryce Young throwing a 90-something-yard touchdown pass against Miami. I mean, you look at that clip and you just see the superior athleticism that Alabama has over Miami. I mean, this kid's making his first start and gets out there and throws a ball like that. I mean, it's really not even fair. I mean, it's not. Alabama just plugs them in. I will say this about Alabama, though. In the Florida game that they only won by a couple of points, they were exposed as a team that really isn't that good against the run. And they're going to have to shore that up. And, Florida found some holes in that Alabama Crimson Tide. That's why I think Saturday that Ole Miss has a shot to really make some way in this game. Now, Matt Corral, and we're going to show you the highlights later in the show, against Tulane, a team that took Oklahoma to the brink. I mean, it took an Oklahoma stop with less than a minute left in the game to keep Tulane from going down for the winning touchdown. Against Tulane, Matt Corral was 21 of 33 for 335 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Now, that is a great day for any quarterback. But how about this? 13 rushes for 68 yards and 4 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns passing, 4 touchdowns throwing the ball. I mean, that is a phenomenal performance. I don't care who you're playing. To be able to put up numbers like that. Lane Kiffin, he's probably not sleeping at night thinking about how great it would be to go in there to Alabama and beat his old coach, Nick Saban. But I don't know if Ole Miss has got the horses to do it. I don't. Alabama, I would pick Alabama in this game, but it's a 19-point spread. Now, the over and under in this game is 80 points. That's right, 80 points on the over and under with a 19-point spread. They're saying that Alabama is going to win this game about 50-30. And, they're going to be swapping touchdowns out there. Somebody's defense is going to have to make a stop. And, of course, the turnovers will probably decide the game. Nick Saban historically has had problems with running quarterbacks. The Florida quarterback gained a lot of yards on him, and this kid from Ole Miss is way better than this guy. So I expect it to be an exciting game. You can catch that game 3:30 Saturday on CBS. Now, this is the first time in college football history that college football players are able to make money. The NIL, and for those of you who don't know, that stands for names, image, and likeness, allows players to get paid for jerseys. They can do commercials. Any camps they go to in the off season, they can get paid for their services there. And I think this is going to cause a lot of problems in college football. I think this is going to be something that I don't think it's been thought out real well. I think they jumped on it too quick. There's a lot of gray areas in there about what can and can't be done. I mean, for instance, is it okay when a coach is recruiting a player to let him know that, that Joe's Used Cars wants to give him $50,000, right when he gets on campus to play quarterback there? I mean, is that something that's going to happen? I mean, even if they say it's an NCAA violation, it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen. He might not tell the kid, but he's going to tell the kid's father, or the kid's friend's going to find out or something like that. So literally, when you're going to recruit kids, you're in a bidding war, Now, this sounds on the surface like that this is what is going to greatly benefit the good teams. But it's going to work both ways. It's going to work both ways. Nick Saban has been able to get 4- and 5-star kids to wait their turn at Alabama to play. But now let's say you're a second-team wide receiver at Alabama, and you're not seeing the field. And you know that you can enter the transfer portal, go to Kentucky, be the starting wide receiver, and make $100,000 a year on the NIL. Why in the world are you going to stay at Alabama? I mean, what's going to keep you there? On the other hand, there's talk this year that some of these quarterbacks are going to make $1 million. $1 million. So, I mean, I got to tell you, if I'm a junior and a top NFL prospect, but I'm getting $1 million to stay in college and play football one more year, I think I might hang around. What's the rush? I'm already rich. I've made $1 million a year the last 3 years. So it's going to get messy, and I don't see how it's going to work. I don't see how it's going to work. I mean, these kids, you're waving a free scholarship, you're waving money at them, and a chance to play on national TV every week. And the smaller schools, they're not going to be able to compete with this. They're just not going to. And it's so the rich are going to get richer, but some of these middle of the road teams, they're going to wind up with some better players, because there's no need now to hang around and wait your turn when you can go somewhere else, make money, and get to play. That kid from Alabama that's second team, he's first team at Kentucky, and if he's a stud like he probably is, the NFL, they draft players from Kentucky, just like they do from Alabama. They don't care what school you go to, just as long as you get it done in the combine. You're going to get your chance. You're going to get your chance. So anyway, it's going to be a big mess. Now, if I was Herschel Walker, I would call the University of Georgia, and I would say, I need some money from all those jerseys that I sold back in the day. We missed out. I mean, they did. A lot of these players did. They missed the boat on this thing. Now, of course, there are people out there that'll tell you that college football players are getting paid for a long, long time. For a long, long time. I know one of the tricks of the trade was that I had heard anyway is that a college kid in the 70s, he would sign with a school, and every school's got a booster that owns a car lot. I mean, they all do. And he would be getting a new car at the end of the year that was a graduation present from his parents. And we all know that the school paid for that car. They paid for it. Her names are on all the papers and everything else, and that clears everything out. But you know where that car's coming from. I mean, come on. Anything you can do to get the edge. Jim Harbaugh up in Michigan says the reason you can't compete with the SEC is because they're paying players. Now, he doesn't have any proof of that, that I know of, or at least he's not putting it forth. And probably is that he's paying players too. Now, look, these are all this is all alleged that I'm saying here. This is just one college football fan giving you his opinion. I mean, there is no proof of it. But what is fact is that players now are going to be able to make money, and it is going to affect their recruitment as to where they go, and it's going to affect how long they're willing to stay at a school and make no NIL money when they can go to another school and make NIL money. So we'll see how it works out, but the combination of the NIL and the transfer portal all happening at one time, it can certainly cause some problems. So anyway, we're going to see how that pans out as the year goes along. So far, there hasn't really been anything said about it. I know JT Daniels, the quarterback of Georgia, has said that he is going to give his offensive line half of his NIL money. But JT's from California, and he comes from a pretty well-to-do family. Like that guy said in Platoon, you got to be rich, think like that to start with. All right, we'll be right back.
From Oxford, Mississippi, Pac-12, no, SEC After Dark. Little brand change, Tulane taking on number 17 Ole Miss after a weather delay of almost 2 hours. On the ground, Parrish. Inside the 10, end zone, touchdown, Rebels. Quarterback draw. Touchdown, Matt Corral. Third down, 11 to go. Corral will try the quarterback draw again. Makes a man miss. Inside the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Matt Corral. His second rushing touchdown of the game.
This is the area where you've got to watch out for 11, Dontario Drummond. They're lining him up in that tight end spot, and if you lose him, he's gone.
Drummond is open in the flat. There he goes. Touchdown, Ole Miss. 8 straight games with a touchdown for Mr. Drummond. Anish Shroff, Mike Golick Jr., Taylor McGregor. It's turned into SEC After Dark. Tulane with an onside kick. Covered up by Ole Miss. And then last week dropping 69 on Morgan State. Corral's going to take a shot downfield. He's got Mingo! Touchdown Rebels!
Living with a lot of the other athletic department, too. They relocated everybody, and for Willie Fritz and the staff he mentioned, it's been a good chance to get to know a lot of the other athletes. As we see Michael Pratt scrambling there.
Chance Campbell, he's been another difference maker.
And knock them back, make them think a long, hard time about going on fourth.
Here's Drummond. Has the edge, tiptoes the sideline, touchdown Drummond. Nothing there for Pratt. And Sam Williams in the backfield. His 4th sack of the season. We get a timeout.
And both pulled up in the big seam where the blitzers were. Great cutoff by the line.
Matt Corral keeps it, and he's got his 3rd rushing touchdown. Corral will keep it. He'll try to run for it. Hurdles. And he is in.
We're turning a lot of guys loose here. Seeing everything through one set of eyes, such an important part about playing the position.
Corral launches it downfield. He's got Sanders. Another touchdown for Ole Miss. 60. That does it here in Oxford. 700 plus yards of total offense for Ole Miss. The 17th ranked Rebels cruise to a 61-21 win.
All right, you were watching highlights of the Ole Miss Tulane game there, and quarterback Matt Corral, who I believe is the top contender for the Heisman Trophy. And he has got a matchup this Saturday with Bryce Young in Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Bryce Young is, these are probably the top 2 quarterbacks right now in the country, and they're going to face each other on Saturday. I can't wait for this game. It is going to be really good. So here we are, the end of September, and quarter of the season is done. A third of the season is done. There are a lot of 4-0 teams out there right now, but in the beginning of the year, everybody's playing 1 or 2 cupcakes. That is going to change in the month of October as all the conferences will get into conference play, and some teams will have a cupcake toward the end of the season, next to last game or something like that. But pretty much for the month of October, nobody is playing a directional school, as they like to say. So, this is the month that's going to separate the great teams from the good teams, and the good teams from the bad teams. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say when we come back at the end of October that Oklahoma will no longer be in the top 10. I'm going to say Cincinnati is not going to be in the top 10. And I'm going to say Ohio State is not going to be in the top 15. They got problems over there at our quarterback and their defense, and I think Penn State is gonna win that game. I really do. Michigan, I'm going to say Michigan is going to make their way into the top 10 sometime this month. So we'll see. We still got a long way to go, and October is certainly going to be as or more exciting than the month of September. And I can't wait. Every Saturday I'm right there. 12 o'clock game, 3:30 game, and the 7 o'clock game. So anyway, it's awesome. That's awesome. College football is awesome. What can I say? All right. Well, we're at the end of our show, and I appreciate everybody watching. Got a lot of great response and reaction to the first show. We got 4 more to go. We're going to be here all the way through the national championship game in January. So until next time, we'll see you.